Question number 5 on the reading portion of College Board's Test 4. The narrator indicates that many previous explorers seeking the North Pole have. So realize this is a quote question, so 6 is paired up with number 5. But let's see if we can go through these answer choices and see if we can narrow this down and pick an answer. I think I know what the answer is going to be. If we remember, he talked about over and over that previous explorers have failed, right? The narrator indicates that previous explorers, he talks about Bering and poor Franklin or frozen DeLong, and then he talks about how the bones of, what does he say? Where does he say that? Fingers scrawled, oh, right here. Line 14, I'm carried helplessly towards the uninhabited and hostile or best indifferent part of the earth, littered with the bones of explorers and the wrecks of ships, frozen supply caches, messages scrawled, all that stuff. So many previous explorers have not succeeded. And furthermore, I think he says that in line 20 and 21, that's a quote, nobody has succeeded in this thing, and many have died. So the narrator indicates that many previous explorers seeking the North Pole have perished in the attempt. Yes, probably. Many have, because we find the bones of and the wrecked ships. Many previous explorers seeking the North Pole have made surprising discoveries. That's a good bad answer if you didn't pick up on the fact that he's venturing on this very dangerous expedition that no one has succeeded on before. Because you might say, oh yeah, people who go to the North Pole find discoveries or something, and that's like your understanding of it. But he says, if anything, you don't find anything in the North Pole. There's nothing of the North Pole that matters at all. There's no surprising discoveries. No one's ever made a surprising discovery because I guess no one's ever been there. What about C? Failed to determine its exact location. That's another warped answer because he keeps talking about this like this precise location. What would you find? And this is a very semantic argument you might want to get into by saying like, well, no one really quite knows exactly where the North Pole is because there's no plaque or there's no statue there. It's just ice. Does he say that? Many explorers have failed to determine its exact location, but that's the difference that this guy's doing. Notice how the College Board is trying to corner you and make you believe an argument that just wasn't said. Because if you pick that, now you have to find a quote that says how previous explorers can't find exactly where the North Pole is. And that's exactly the rub that this guy, the narrator, has with the explorers. No. What about D? Previous explorers seeking the North Pole have had different motivations than his own. This also seems like a really good, smart answer that's ultimately bad and wrong. Because we don't know what their motivations were. Do we know that the motivations of previous explorers? We only know the motivations of this one guy. And maybe he's actually making a generalization for the motives of every explorer that ever tries to go find something just for the sake of finding it. But nonetheless, we don't know that the previous explorers had different motivations. We don't know that. He never says it. He never once says what they were thinking or what they were feeling because we don't know because they're dead or not being asked in this piece. So I really think the answer for number 5 is going to be A. That's like the only one that makes sense. It's the one that we keep talking about over and over again. But just to be sure, let's take a look at the quotes in question 6. Question number 6 on the reading portion of College Board's Test 4. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? So in the previous video, we came to the conclusion that we think the answer to number 5 is going to be A. It's the only one that makes sense, the one that we remember him talking about over and over again. But just to be sure, let's pretend like we don't even know what any of the answer choices say. Let's just read the question for number 5. The narrator indicates that many previous explorers seeking the North Pole have. What have they done? What have previous explorers in the North Pole done? Let's read the quotes. Let's read A. Does it talk about what previous explorers have done? Nobody has succeeded in this thing. In this thing is in going to the North Pole. And many have died. So I like on how that nicely matches up, by the way, with A for number 5. It's because A for 5 says, many previous explorers seeking the North Pole have perished. And what does 6A say? Nobody has succeeded and many have died. Many have perished. I really like A and A. Let's take a look at B for 6. Does this answer what many previous explorers have done? 25 to 27. All this I understand, as I understand each detail of this technique by which this is carried out. That has nothing to do with previous explorers. What do previous explorers believe? We have no idea what previous explorers believe because that's only talking about the narrator. What about C? Is this what previous explorers have done? 31 to 34. Will it carry you from Gothenburg to Malmo like a railway? The Danish ministers have declared from their pulpits that participation in polar expeditions is beneficial to the soul's eternal well-being, or so I read. That has nothing to do with what previous explorers seeking the North Pole have attempted to do. That's just talking about what other people think is going on in the heads of explorers. This narrator is not entirely convinced that that's true, or so I've read. He's not even convinced that that's true. What about D? The narrator indicates that many previous explorers seeking the North Pole have... What have they done? 51 to 53. Behind us, perhaps forever, lies the cities of men, with their teacups and their brass bedsteads. That has nothing to do with what previous explorers seeking the North Pole have done. Realize how we can narrow down this answer very easily by just answering a very specific question. Namely, what have previous explorers seeking the North Pole attempted to do? What have they attempted to do? Well, they have perished. They perished in the attempt to go to the North Pole. That is line 20 to 21. Answer number 5 is going to be A. Answer number 6, also A.